Today is Monday, February 3. I'm Pastor Anthony, and this is Wilderness Wanderings. Today our text comes from Hebrews 11. By faith the people passed through the Red Sea as on dry land. But when the Egyptians tried to do so, they were drowned. That's Hebrews 11, verse 29. If one reads the book of Exodus, faith does not seem the right word to equate with the people. This is how Exodus 13 reports it. As Pharaoh approached, they were terrified and cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us here to the desert to die?" It's Exodus 13, verses 10 and 11. Moses' response came with a bit more faith. He says, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." That's verses 13 and 14. These are the two poles between which our lives of faith oscillate, between utter hopelessness and despair on the one side, and an uncanny ability to stand firm despite everything that says you ought to crumble on the other. It's worth saying that the people's appraisal of the situation was correct. But for God, they were surely going to die. Caught between an ocean and an army with livestock, children, and the elderly members of the community, there was no way the whole group was going to escape. What we need to understand from this, then, is that faith does not make sense. According to the maths, the Israelites die. But Moses in this moment was looking beyond the facts and statistics, the strategy and the common sense. He not only had an assurance about the God he could not see, but also a confidence in what he hoped for, namely, salvation. He stood firm in a belief that an invisible God really can step in to save his people from the visible dangers they face in this world, even today. This is what faith is. But how many of us have it? When we speak of salvation, we're usually speaking of a death for sin in the distant past that gives us a heavenly home in the distant future. Neither this past nor this future seem to have much import for the life we're living today. It's nice, a great future comfort to be sure, but it's not going to pay the bills, nor is it going to save us from any of the dangers we or our loved ones face. We take that work into our own hands with our own know-how. And so it is that we find ourselves believing quite orthodox things, and yet nevertheless forsaking faith in the living Lord Jesus, who in this very moment still sits on the throne and steps into this world to save his people. Like the Israelites before us, we have a hard time leaving Egypt. To finally and fully leave Egypt, the Israelites had to let go of what they knew and what their five senses were telling them. They had to give way to the faith Moses held out before them, that their only hope of salvation in this world was in a God they couldn't see, working against everything that they could. The Egyptians stayed in Egypt, of course. The faithless real-world logic of, well, you can't walk through a dry sea bottom, literally came crashing down on them. But the Israelites made it through an impossible danger in an impossible way. They walked by faith in a God who makes a way where there is no way, and so found themselves walking on dry, solid ground. Whatever it is that you face right now in your life, stand firm and take hope. Believe in faith that the Lord Jesus still fights for his people and saves them, saves you, even today. As you journey on, go with this blessing. May the peace of the Lord Christ go with you, wherever he may send you. May he guide you through the wilderness and protect you through the storm. May he bring you home rejoicing at the wonders he has shown you. May he bring you home rejoicing once again into our doors.